friends, my name is Shayla, and today I'm here to film the first wrap-up of February for you. I've read enough in the first 9 days of February that I feel like I should do a wrap-up, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And let's go ahead and dive right in. I'm going to start with the things that I consumed digitally first, because there's a big chunk of those. I did a couple of audiobooks and stuff while I was assembling these shelves and things, and then I do have more physical manga than books on this particular one, so let's go ahead and dive right in. The first thing we're going to talk about is Savaged by Mia Sheridan. This is a romance in which this boy was taken when he was young and essentially forced to live in the wild, and this was an experiment of some sort, and he has basically been secluded and just living off the land and stuff for years. And then, of course, this girl from town comes into the picture. They have a connection that they don't understand. It's explained later in the book. This one was good, not my favorite, but it's a Mia Sheridan. I tend to really love Mia Sheridan's writing, and so I genuinely did enjoy Savaged. I did just do the audiobook for this one. There's a lot of Mia Sheridan titles through Audible Escape, so if you do like Mia Sheridan's writing, maybe Audible Escape would be a thing for you to go back and go through her backlist titles. That's kind of what I've been doing because I adore her writing. So yes, I did enjoy this, but not as much as some others, and I officially landed on a 4-star rating for this just because there were some things about it that didn't quite line up right for me. So I did knock down a star for that, but it was still enjoyable and a fun listen. The narrators did a great job, and I really enjoyed it. Next up, we have an e-arc, and that was The Last Heist by Samantha. I don't remember her last name, but it's there on the cover of the book. In this one, this was an e-arc that I got through NetGalley, and I guess NetGalley is actually the one publishing this particular title, and it's out either today or tomorrow. Like, it's out soon. But it's one of those things where it was pretty predictable. It was definitely a heist situation. And it was a boy from her past who used to be involved in that, who turned and started working for the FBI, who helps her save her sister from a kidnapper, blah, blah, blah. Things are pretty easy to predict within the series, but it was a fun read, 3 stars. I enjoyed it. There wasn't anything particularly wrong with it. I just didn't, fall madly in love with it. I was hoping for a little bit more from it, but I am interested in the next book in the series because that's following the sister that had been kidnapped, and I'm really interested in her story, so I will most likely try to get the next book in the series. This is the Pretty Thieves series, I believe it's called. So I am interested in book 2, so I will continue on, even though I only gave book 1 a 3-star. Next up, we have The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. In this one, this is a beloved romance. This is by Mariana Zapata. In this, we're following the assistant of a pro football player, and they enter into a fake marriage so that he can stay in the country. I adored this, probably much more than I should have. I know one of the biggest complaints is that it's too long, and I do understand that complaint. There are some of the conflicts that I feel like got repetitive. I felt like we repeated the same conflict 2 or 3 different times. I would have loved to have seen a different conflict or to just kind of time skip over that. But I still think it was well done. I gave it a solid 4. I really enjoyed The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, and I will be picking up more Mariana Zapata in the future. Next up here, we have an e-arc of House Rules by Ruby Lang. This is one in which we're following an older couple who were previously married, but they got divorced. They got married really young and got divorced really young. And they've both kind of gone on, sought out their own careers, and they're both kind of back in the same area. And the woman approaches the man asking him to be her roommate so that they can live in the area that they want to. He's been stuck in this apartment forever. It was his dad's or something. And after his dad passed away, he just needed to move, just to move on with his life. And so he does agree to move in with her. So we have a shared living space, second chance romance kind of situation. It was really fun. It was a novella. It was about 150 pages. I gave it 4 stars. It was good. It was fun. It wasn't earth-shattering necessarily, but it was really fun and really well done. And it also centers around music, because they both went to music school together. That's how they met. And it was really well done. I really enjoyed it. So I do recommend checking it out if it sounds interesting at all to you. And the last thing I consumed digitally this month so far was actually a TL manga. I'm only going to put up the first chapter here. I call them chapters instead of volumes. But I read all 3, and it is I gotta read this title. No, his scent keeps turning me on. So essentially, this is a workplace romance in which this girl has struggled all her life, that she gets incredibly turned on when she gets a good whiff of a man. And so there's this particular coworker who is handsome to her that discovers this secret, and they engage in a romantic sexual relationship, and he wants her to only rely on him for those kinds of needs. And it's interesting. It's not perfect, obviously. 3 stars. It's got its issues. The first interaction is very forceful, and I didn't love that. It was a little uncomfy. But the rest of it, the consent is much clearer, and I really just enjoyed their interactions. Again, I checked this out from Kindle Unlimited, so I didn't spend anything on it. It's fun. TL mangas, all you're going to get is a ton of smut through them. Like, I'm just going to be candid with you right there. So if you're just looking for a good smutty time that's really, like, shallow and two-dimensional, TL manga is where you want to head. So again, 3 stars. There's definitely better stuff out there. But I thought this was still really fun, and I would recommend checking it out if it sounds interesting to you. The whole reason why I picked this one is because it reminded me of the concept of Soap and Glory that's coming out, or Sweat and Soap, sorry. I don't know why I keep saying Soap and Glory. It's Sweat and Soap coming out later this month. And so I'm like, I'll give this one a try. But I like the concept of Sweat and Soap much better. And things are much clearer in that one, consent lines and things, from what I know and what I understand of it. So I'm definitely going to I would recommend Sweat and Soap over this one. But yeah, that's how we're going to end the digital portion of this discussion. So let's go ahead and dive right in to the physical stuff. First up, we have a graphic novel, and that is Snug by Katana Comics, a collection of comics about dating your best friend. Steve and I follow Katana Comics digitally online, and so we have bought both of their collections. They interact in their relationship like Steve and I do, and so there's a lot of their jokes that resonate with us really hard. And so we just tend to really love collecting these. They have this thing of not wearing pants, which is very much like Steve and I, and some things like that. The comedy in these are, you find these in the humor section at Barnes & Noble. And it's just fun and really cute, and I really, really loved it. So I do recommend checking out this collection. I ended up giving it 4 stars, I think. Yes, 4 stars. This one did a better job of having a lot of newer comics compared to the first collection. I think the first collection was more to introduce people to Katana Comics, and this one is more geared specifically towards their Snug habits and things, and it's just really cute. I really loved it, and this is a little comic strip book that I highly recommend people check out. The first collection they have is Little Moments of Love. So if you are not familiar with Katana Comics, maybe try this one first. And then this one gets into more of their, like, personal jokes and stuff. So it's really cute and really fun. I really love it. And then the only other physical book that I have so far, the other physicals that I've read are buddy reads, and I'm in the middle of them still. So I am reading other physical things. But the only other physical one I have for this particular wrap-up is Love Her or Lose Her by Tessa Bailey. Now, I have to say that I think people have given this really harsh ratings. This is not a perfect novel, and I will never say that it's perfect. But being someone who was in a struggling marriage that didn't make it, there's a lot of this book that resonated with me. If my partner at the time had been willing to try in therapy a little bit more, I think we probably could have saved it, but I still believe that we weren't meant to be and that I was supposed to be with Steve. So let me make that clear right now. But in this, we have Rosie and Dominic, who are high school sweethearts, that textbook, really great couple on the outside, but on the inside, they've been struggling for a lot of years. Dominic served in the military, and he started to distance himself after his last time home after deployment. He did, I want to say 3 or 4 deployments, and just because of certain things he experienced in the war, he started to distance himself and close himself off because he felt unworthy of Rosie. Over time, Rosie got tired of his silence, and they actually separate at the beginning of this novel. And so you see them in their separation and also going to therapy and all sorts of things that are really healthy to see in a romance novel. And I really appreciated that a lot. And it actually showed therapy sessions. I love the Bromance Book Club, and I believe they do attend therapy in that, but it's much more like casual and like individualized, where this is specifically like couples marriage counseling. And I really loved how this played out. I gave it 4 stars. The reason why I knocked it down a star is maybe a little harsh myself, I can honestly say, but Dominic calls Rosie honey girl a lot. And to me, it felt a lot like baby girl, and that's not a comfy term of endearment for me, but he always calls her honey girl. He rarely calls her Rosie. And so it's one of those things where it's just who he is and who they are as a couple because it works for them. But for me, that was a little uncomfy, so I did knock down a star for it. And Dominic is kind of that alpha male kind of guy, but I knew that going in because we had met Dominic in the previous book and he already came across that way. So I was prepared for that going in. So if you're expecting somebody soft and sweet, you're definitely not gonna get that in Dominic. And if you didn't like Travis in Fix Her Up, then you're definitely not gonna like Dominic, because Dominic is much more alpha male than Travis was. So know that going into this book, but I think it was so well done. 4 stars. And as always, Tessa Bailey's smut is dirty, filthy, and wonderful to read. So that's how I feel about Love Her or Lose Her. I think it's a good book, but I think the Bromance Book Club is better in the same kind of vein where it's a married couple trying to fix their problems. So if I have to pick one over the other, it's definitely Bromance Book Club, but I do think this is a solid read. And if you like Tessa Bailey's smut, you'll still like this. All right, everything else that I have to talk about is manga, so let's go ahead and dive right in. First up, we're going to talk about Takada Hana Volume 13. I love Takada Hana so much. This is one of my favorite age gaps because it's very innocent. But there is actually progress in a romantic relationship for these two in this particular volume. So I will tell you that. There are things where, like, parents give consent, they confess they want to be together, things like that, but they know that the age gap is in place, and so they set up rules and are very, like, strict with said rules. And it was really well handled, in my personal opinion. I didn't feel uncomfy through any of it. And as long as I continue to feel comfy with things, not uncomfy, then I'll continue to read Takada and Hana. But if they cross a line where I'm uncomfortable, I'm definitely, like, going to step away. And probably not keep it at that point, which makes me really sad because I love so much of this. But right now, I absolutely love it. It's still going strong for me. I still really, really enjoy it. So, yes, Takada and Hana is still in the uncomfy land of age gaps for me. I do wish that they had put it in a different demographic, but I understand why they put it where they did. But I feel like it does romanticize an age gap. So I'm going to put that out there. Me, as a grown woman reading it, it's not a problem, obviously, because to me it's just fun fiction. But to a high school age girl, she could start looking at a guy 10 years older than her and think that's okay. And so I'm having a little struggle with it being a shoujo and published in such a prominent shoujo magazine. But I have no control over that. So I enjoy the story a lot. But if you're going to let your teenager read it, just be prepared that they might feel that way, I guess is the easiest way to put that. And then we have Ao Horror Ride Volume 8. Now, people said I was going to be mad at Ko again in this volume, and I'm not mad at Ko. Ko is the male protagonist, for those who don't know. In this series, it's definitely a back-and-forth relationship, but mostly I was proud of Futaba in this volume. Futaba, our main girl, is definitely standing up for herself in this particular volume. She's taking charge of herself and what she wants in life. She's starting to branch out and look at things and look at different options, and I'm proud, proud, proud of Futaba. I think this is going in a direction that I'm okay with now. I was a little worried there through the middle, but I'm really excited. I will be reading Volume 9 later this week for Manga Love Readathon, so I can share more thoughts, obviously, when I wrap those up. But yes, I am definitely pleased with how Volume 8 went. and I'm looking forward to Volume 9. Next up, we have Jana the Dawn Volume 22. Y'all know I wouldn't be able to wait to read this because I am trash for this series so hard. There was a lot of character progression in this particular one. We also get a flashback with Young Hak and Young Suwon, and that was absolutely fantastic. And the back of this is just too cute. I just have to show you. But anyways, I really love this series so much. This is a politically charged romantic fantasy in which we follow Jana, who is 16. And y'all know, I describe this like every time I have a volume in my hands. But anyways, Jana the Dawn is a solid series. Again, another 5 stars. I have mixed feelings about where this is headed, but I'm still here for it. I'm interested to see what Kusanagi decides to do with this series. But Hawk is starting to face his feelings for Jana, and that makes my heart very happy. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So, moving on. Now we have one that is an early release copy that I have in my hands, and it's still hard for me to believe that I have it in my hands. And that is Love Me, Love Me Not by Ayosaki Saka. This is her brand new series out the first week of March, so I believe it's March 3rd. Yes, March 3rd. That you guys will be able to have this in your hands. Viz kindly sent me an early release copy, and I am so grateful to them. And in this one, we follow these 2 girls, and they become fast friends through a shared experience of like having a friend move away, I guess, or like not be able to be reached, I guess you could say, in the same way. And so in this, we have Yuna and Akari, and Yuna keeps seeing this beautiful blonde boy, and she feels the pitter-patter for the blonde boy. And this blonde boy, his name is Rio, and she finds out that it's Akari's stepbrother. And then Yuna's childhood friend, Kazuomi, enters the picture. Akari starts to like Kazuomi, and Yuna likes Rio. But there's another thing going on here that is a spoiler, but it's a huge trope. So I'm going to put my hand up and do this. So I'm going to spoil it. So when my hand goes down, the spoiler's gone. So if you don't want to know what the trope is, you can skip ahead. But the trope is the 2 step-siblings had feelings for each other at one point, and it seems that Rio, at least, still has feelings for Akari. So with that trope in mind, this isn't going to be for everybody, but I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed this. I will be doing a dedicated review to this volume, and that will be coming your way soon. I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing that on the blog or here. I will let you guys know once it's up. And last but not least for this particular wrap-up, we have Paradise Kiss by Ayazawa. I buddy read this with Lindsay Tutt and Aisha over at Mama Loves Manga. They'll both be linked down below. They're fantastic humans. Definitely check them out. And in this story, we're following Yukari, and Yukari is a teenage girl who kind of feels lost in life. And she's approached by these crazy kids from the art school to be a model for the upcoming exposition. And she reluctantly agrees and gets to know this crew. And she has a crush at school, but then she meets George, the actual designer for the event. And George and Yukari enter into a romantic relationship. This is essentially a series about teenagers making bad decisions. And I'm not going to shy away from the fact that that's what it is. It is all centered around fashion. So if you like fashion, if you like something like Princess Jellyfish for the fashion aspect, definitely try this series. This is the beautiful 20th anniversary edition from Vertical Comics. And this series was definitely ahead of its time in a lot of ways. There are some jokes that are not okay now that would have been funny 20 years ago. So do know that going in. George is bisexual. I'll put that out there. And they make some really kind of weird jokes about George being bisexual. So we'll say that. But this is so well done. The art is absolutely stunning. I mean, come on, guys. How can you not? But the story did a lot of really good things. So even though there's teenagers making bad decisions, I'm really happy with how things turn out for all of the teenagers in the end of the story. So know that going into this. I really enjoyed this. I ended up giving it 5 stars. And this is something that I reluctantly recommend. If you're okay with things being messy and teenagers making mistakes, and you see the consequences of said mistakes, things like running away, engaging in sexual relationships really young, and those kinds of things, then you're okay to enter this one. But if you're not okay with those things, definitely steer clear. But I absolutely love this. Again, this is one I will probably do a dedicated review to, most likely on the blog. That'll be a little more in depth. So, but in the meantime, my Goodreads reviews are pretty thorough, except for Love Me Not. Maybe I did a pretty thorough one. I don't remember. But this one's pretty thorough. So my Goodreads is always linked down below. So definitely check that out. So friends, that is everything that I've read so far in the month of February. And it's quite a bit. I was surprised how much it was. And a lot of that's just due to the fact that I consumed so many audiobooks early in the month. And yes, so that's where things are at for the moment. The next wrap up you'll see will be at the end of Contemporary-a-thon and Manga Love Readathon. At the end of that vlog, or that vlog series, I will be doing a wrap up. And then I'll do one at the end of the month for the last half of the month. So thank you guys so much for checking out this video. If you're new, welcome. I'm happy to have you here. And I would love it if you would subscribe and click the little bell so you know when I post new videos. This is YouTube and you guys know what to do. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.